Well, good evening everyone, and welcome to this, the third Revolution Trains Facebook Live. We've had a lot of positive feedback to this format, when we can get the sound to work at least, so we're going to keep going with it. I think it does seem to be popular with people, and during this strange period of lockdown or semi-lockdown, it does give us a chance to talk directly to you. We should have been next weekend at a DMU showcase event, as we always are every year, but we can't make that. So what we're doing really today is making some of the announcements that we would have planned to make then. Some of the announcements that we're making tonight have been brought upon us by changes in circumstances, which I will explain as we go through them. And a reminder to you that all the information that you're going to get here now will appear shortly on our website after 9 o'clock this evening in turn. And also I'll be sort of checking into the Engage forum after this, so I'll answer any questions that I don't get time to answer or that Mike doesn't get time to answer during the live itself in real time. And also the live itself is being recorded and it will be available to view via our website or on Facebook after this event. And that's for those who are in different time zones who can't watch. Welcome to everybody. I happen to know we have got someone just after midnight in India watching, so welcome to you, and welcome to everybody who's joining us now. Also joining us again is the other half of Revolution Trains, backed by popular demand, Mr. Mike Hale. We've got a pre-recorded insert from Mike that we'll be playing a little later on, and he is on the end of a computer. If you are joining us and you see the comments at the side, any of the comments by Revolution Trains are coming from Mike. And if you're asking questions while I'm talking and I'm a bit too distracted, Mike will pick up an answer, particularly things maybe around pricing, because I haven't got all the price figures here. But if we're talking about anything you want to know how much it costs and where we've set a price at least, I'm sure Mike can help out with that. So let me just run through a little bit of what we've got to show you. We're going to be showing you new samples of two models in both N gauge and 00 gauge. We have got two all new products that we're announcing, including one in an all new scale to us. We are talking about two of our existing products that are switching scales, and if you follow Revolution Trains, you can probably guess what two products they are. I've got a reminder for you about some early bird deadlines approaching, and what I'd like to say first of all before we get to any of that is a huge thank you to readers and people at Model Rail magazine, because a couple of weeks ago we learned that the Pendolino that we produced with our friends at Rapido Trains had been nominated and won the N-Gauge Model of the Decade in the diesel and electric locomotive or multiple unit category, and we're just incredibly thrilled and stoked by that. I mean, when we heard about that, I've got to tell you that Mike and I were absolutely delighted. It was a massive vote of thanks, really, from you and from all who voted for it. So thank you very much if you did vote for it. Thanks to Model Rail magazine. Again, we're incredibly proud, and we're up against some really tough competition. Really good models by Graham Farish and by Dapol. So thanks again for that. Right, without further ado, let's move on to the fun stuff. So the first thing we're showing you today is the EP1 samples of the Ecofret container wagons in 00 and in N-gauge. I'm going to show you the 00 ones first. This is one of the outer cars, and it's, as you can see, plenty of detail on there. The lower section is die-cast metal. There we go, and then there's plenty of extra detail. There's wire pipes and so on and so forth. We've done a lot of work to really get these chunky bogies. And these bogies, just make sure you can hear me in my microphone. These bogies are really chunky on the prototype. They've got really thick frames on them. And also, what we've also done is we've got separate dampers on there. I don't know if you can see those. There's photographs going on our website later which will show that. And also, of course, separate parking brake wheels. But the dampers we're really pleased with because they're a really distinctive feature of the prototype. Now, this model, just like the prototype, has fixed spigots in the 40-foot positions, and they were designed with the C-Rail 40-foot high cube containers in mind, and they just drop and lock gently into position there. So you don't need to fix them down. They won't come falling off, but you might want to with a bit of double-sided sticky tape, I suppose. Now, that's the 40-foot vehicle. Now, Freightliner operate these in twin sets in VTG green livery, and we're offering 4 different number sets in the green twins. We're also offering triple sets in GBRF blue and DB red. Now GBR and DB offer triple sets, so these are the other two cars for the triple set, another outer and an inner car. Now these inner cars are interesting because the outers can only take 40-foot containers, and that's because 40-foot containers by far and away are the most popular container on the railway. The inners just have positions for 20-foot containers as well. Now, the models are held together by bar couplings. They just gently pull apart like that. So I'll move that out of the way and show you this inner now. Now, obviously, if you had permanent spigots where the 20-foot positions are, then 40-foot containers wouldn't be able to sit on the wagon. So on the real thing, these spigots rotate over and flip, just like that they do on the model. So if you're running them with a 40-foot container, you flip the spigots like that. And if you're running them with two 20-foot containers, you pop the spigots over, and there we go. And I'll just show you that again, they're designed for C-rail 20-foot containers, and that drops on there like that and locates in place. And another one drops on like that and locates nicely in place. So you can have your 20-foot containers, or you can have your 40-foot containers. And as I said, these wagons, our friend Tom Smith got a really nice photograph of a Freightliner twin set at Coatbridge Freightliner Terminal. You can see it here loaded with two MSC containers, and the Freightliner twins are just two outers back to back. We're doing 4 different number sets of those, and the triples operate in GBRF and DB livery. We were invited to Peterborough Depot by GB Rail Freight to get some really good close-up detail photographs of a GBRF triple set, and we're offering, I think, 4 different GBRF triples. Now, 2 of those that we're offering have the big Ecofret branding on the deck that VTG put on there when they first launched these wagons. The other 2 are in plain blue, and we're doing a single DB red set. If there is demand, we may add an extra DB red set to that possibility. Now, that's the 00 models, and if we move on now to the N-gauge model, I'll just bring it into shot. So there we go. There's the N-gauge triple again, exactly the same. Slightly different arrangement with the spigots in N-gauge, because in N-gauge the spigots tend to be on the containers. So what we're doing with these models is the spigots will be supplied in a bag, and you can push them in if you want to operate the wagons empty, so they look realistic. But if you want to run them loaded, then they'll be designed with holes in the decks for the container to push in, and this model here has got the holes pre-drilled. If I show you, the container just slides into place, and whoops, nearly there. Container just pops into position, and there we go, it pops onto the floor like that. So that's a center deck, and you can see the container fits perfectly. So that's what we're doing in N-gauge. So you've got options there for running them empty or full, but we can't have the flipping spigots in N-gauge because it's just too small. Now the Ecofrets are available to order now at the early bird price in N-gauge until the end of this month. I'm going to have a bit of a reminder about more early bird deadlines coming up later in this live. And the 00 ones are going to go on sale. I think they're going on sale. I think Mike's rigged it for them to go on sale during this live. So if you want to order the 00 models, you can do. So that's just about wraps it up for the Ecofrets. Now let's move on to our next and first, I should say, new announcement, and this is that we are planning to produce a model of the inspection saloon Caroline in 00. Now, Caroline is an incredibly iconic and historic vehicle. It was converted from the buffet car of a Hastings DEMU in 1969 for the Southern Region General Manager's Saloon, but since then it's enjoyed various lives and various iterations. It's had changes made, and right now it's running in the dark green livery that you can see in the image there, and it's had the centre head code has been taken away, the head code below the centre windscreen, I should say, and LED lights have been fitted. Now, we're going to be tooling up various different options, but before I tell you about that, I'm going to tell you a little bit about the research and development we did. We went to Loram in Derby, where we were kindly hosted by Loram, who allowed us to go all the way around Caroline, go inside Caroline, and really get to know the vehicle. It's a lovely vehicle, really beautifully set out and done out inside, able to cater for parties of people. And I'll tell you a little bit about the history, because it is really a remarkable vehicle. Converted for use by the Southern Region General Manager in 1969 and stayed in that way through the 1980s into the 1990s. In 1981, it was used for the royal party for the wedding of the Prince and Princess of Wales, and they used it as part of their royal wedding train that took them from London Waterloo to Romney for the first night of their honeymoon, which took place at Broadlands. Now, you can see in that photograph, or you could see in that photograph, there's a Class 73 locomotive at the front, Broadlands. That has been set aside for the National Collection. There were 2 coaches, and then at the back was Caroline, and Caroline, we understand, was where the royal couple spent the journey, and Caroline too has been set aside to be preserved for the National Collection. It's also carried the Pope on one of his visits. It was the first passenger vehicle into the Channel Tunnel with a specially selected group of dignitaries and MPs in 1991 or 1992, I think. No, 1994 possibly. In any event, it's an incredibly historic vehicle. Now, what I can show you now is the first of the CADs. Now, this is the CAD of Caroline in her original form. You can see the centre head code box below the windscreens. You can see the southern region jumper cables there because it was often tacked onto the front of an EMU and used to drive the EMU where it was needed to do that. Then it was changed, and over the years changes have been made. Our tooling will reflect those changes until you get to the most modern version, which is this version here, which, as I said, has the head code plated over, the jumper cables removed, third rail pickup shoes that were on one of the bogies have also been removed, and a different style of lighting clusters have been fitted. So what we're looking to do is do all the iterations of Caroline throughout its life. We'll be offering it in blue grey, Network Southeast, and in the plain green livery that she currently carriages. But that's not all. There's also an incredibly exciting piece of news which goes alongside with this. We are really excited about it, which is this. Caroline is a vehicle that very few people have been able to ride on over the years. It's been reserved for the general managers, for VIPs, for dignitaries, as I've explained. We have negotiated with Network Rail and LORAM to take Caroline out on a rail tour. And next April, we think, social distancing guidelines permitting and so on and so forth, we are planning to take Caroline out on what we're calling the Sweet Caroline Rail Tour. Now, this rail tour will travel from Derby out to Stoke-on-Trent, up to Crewe on the West Coast Main Line, then up to Stockport. At Stockport we'll reverse and come back down through the Peak District on the Hope Valley line. If possible, we might take in some of the freight-only lines around Buxton, but that's still being negotiated, and then down to Towton, through Towton and back into Derby. It's a real thrilling trip. It's an all-day trip. It'll start at 10, finish sometime around tea time. And we are going to arrange for a free draw. Everybody who orders Caroline before August the 31st will be entered into that draw. We'll make the draw in some way, possibly via another Facebook Live, but we'll figure out exactly how to do it in the fairest possible way near the time. And those customers will be invited to come with us. You'll have to pay for your own trip to Derby, but everything on board will be taken care of. We'll provide you with food, with catering, and of course a thrilling trip. So we hope that some of you at least will be able to join us on our Sweet Caroline Rail Tour. Something of a real exclusive there, in my opinion. So one last thing to tell you about Caroline is that while this is definitely happening in 00, the CADs are just about done. There's just a few little tweaks being done now, and it will go to tooling very soon. We don't know whether we should be doing Caroline in N-gauge. I'd love one. I know Mike would. Probably most of you guys would want one too. What we don't know about is whether there are sufficient numbers to justify by tooling up and producing Caroline. So as soon as this Facebook Live is over, we are going to open up expressions of interest so you can tell us if you would buy a Caroline. Now, it's not going to be cheap. We're looking at around about 130, 140 pounds. It will have full lighting. It'll have full detail interiors. When you see later on when I upload to our news pages information, there is a shot of the interior CAD to show you the level of detail we're going to. It will be a stunning model, but it will be absolutely a one-off. These days it runs with DRS Class 37s all around the country. In the past it's run with Class 33s, 73s. I've shown you. Fragonset ran it with a 33, I think, for a period of time. But that is something we just don't know. We can't assess the demand, so we're asking you, are you interested? If you are, let us know. Right, now, next new announcement, again, something of a biggie in every sense, in that we are going to produce our first O-gauge model. Now, this is not one of our own models. The O-gauge model we are producing has come about through a lucky combination of circumstances, really. We had what I suppose you might call an angel investor who wanted one. Heljan have come in and said, yes, we will produce it, and it will be sold via us. This is a strictly limited run of 37405 in DRS Compass livery. Now, the 374 produced by Heljan has, I understand, been very well received. I'm not an expert in O-gauge myself, as many of you probably will know, but we understand it's a very well received model. Heljan are producing other 374s, but I believe this is the only one that will be produced in DRS Compass livery. A strictly limited number available to order from Revolution Trains over the next few months, with delivery expected, we think, sometime in November. Now, the artwork has already been produced. We can show you the artwork for this locomotive. We believe it has several specific details that are unique to 37405. Lots and lots of photographs were studied to get this right. We're expecting decorated samples in around 12 weeks, and in a message to O-Gauge enthusiasts, because we did meet quite a few Gauge O Guild members and a few other O-Gaugers at Model Rail Scotland in February, which seems like a lifetime ago now, but was the last exhibition we were able to attend. And they were trying to get us to get on board with producing some models in O-Gauge. So if this locomotive does okay, and we hope it will, then we will seriously consider looking at producing some of our other models, our existing models, and upscaling them to O-Gauge, maybe to give something for 37405 to pull. Now then, the next thing that I've got to tell you about is a bit more changes of scale of models, and this is where we are switching scales around, and we're producing one of our 00 models in N and one of our N-Gauge models in 00. Now I'll show you which they are, and it probably won't surprise anybody at all that we are going to shrink down the Ealnos JNA MMA box wagon to N-Gauge, and we're going to upscale the HOA hopper to 00. Now the reason that we have picked those two models is that we've had a huge number of requests from people to do them, but there is actually a more prosaic point to this, which is that in the current climate we haven't been able to get out and about as we normally would do, so all our research and development has kind of been put on hold for a little bit. Normally we would be making trips to Derby, for example, to photograph and measure Caroline, or making trips even to my local GBRF depot at Peterborough here in Cambridgeshire, where we could photograph and measure the Ecofret. Things we had planned to do and new models we had intended to look at, we haven't been able to go and do that. So we thought, well, we want to keep bringing stuff through. This actually gives us a great opportunity to rescale models we've already done. So we've already had obviously very successful production runs of the HOA in N and the Ealnos model in 00, and so we've got the factories to flip them round, and so the MMA JNA will be going on sale very soon in N, and the HOA will be going on sale and available by soonish in 00. Now with the HOA, we're probably not going to put it on sale straight away, because we know there are other models that 00 customers will probably be wanting to order, like the Ecofrets, for example. So we'll probably give it a couple of weeks or so before we put that one up to order. In terms of the JNA, now let me just talk a little bit more about that, because when we produced them in 00, which was what, a year or so ago now, they came out in DB Red, Emoa Tarmac Grey, GBRF Blue, VTG Blue, and Mendit Rail Silver. And those are the liveries that existed at that time. Now since then, there are another 200 or 300 of these wagons have been produced on the real railway, and there are some new liveries, and one I can show you is the lovely dark red livery of Tuax. Now that photograph was taken by one of our friends, Joe Alder, down at Westbury, and so that is a livery that we may well add to the N-Gauge livery opportunities. Other wagons, again, VTG Mid Blue, also photographed at Westbury, and these wagons are also running alongside the Mid Blue wagons with the big Kappa lettering on the side, which are new. So what we're going to do with these is, because there are lots and lots more liveries than there used to be, I think we can't do every livery. That's a lesson we learned with the 320 and 321 of trying to offer too many and ending up pleasing nobody. We'll probably select 4 or 5 or 6 liveries and make those as the ones that are available, and perhaps some of the other liveries that don't make the cut will have to wait for a run sometime in the future. Okay, now that's just about it. The CAD is almost done of the 00 HOA. I can just show you that quickly, so you can see that it's virtually done. I don't think there's much more to add to that. We're very happy with how that's looking. The CAD for the MMA Ealnos box wagon in N is still being worked on, so I haven't got anything to show you of that, but perhaps by the time of the next Facebook Live I will do. And so again, those models, the MMA certainly will be available to order soon for our N-Gauge customers. The 00 HOA will wait a little bit. Now for the news of our next item, I'm going to hand you over Opportunity Knocks for Mr. Mike Hale.
Hi everyone. As Ben mentioned, we have an expressions of interest form on our website for the Caroline Inspection Saloon in N. And in a similar vein, we have one more surprise for you. Expressions of interest in the Class 89. The iconic 89 is something we've actually been thinking about for quite some time, but we were really a bit unsure whether there was sufficient interest to produce it in N-Gauge. To give you a bit of background, the 89 was made in 1986 at Crewe by Brell. Unfortunately, a change in BR's strategy made it almost immediately redundant as there was a switch to the Class 90 and Class 91s. It was delivered in executive livery, and from 86 to 88 it it was used for test trains on both the East and West Coast main lines. People often think of the 89 as being exclusively used on the East Coast, but it was also used quite frequently on the West Coast during that period for test trains. It then moved into regular service on the East Coast main line from 1988 to 92, when it was also repainted in 88 into the attractive swallow livery. And then, following a failure, it was taken out of service, and most people thought that was pretty much the end of it. In a surprise move, post-privatisation, GNER actually reactivated it and repaired it and repainted it into their livery in 1997 due to a chronic lack of traction available for their services on the East Coast. And so from 97 to 2001, again, it was back on the East Coast main line. Thereafter, it was preserved by the AC Loco Group, and that was really the situation. The AC Loco Group repaired it externally and repainted it into some of the liveries it had appeared in previously. And again, we really thought that was the end of the story for the 89. It was safe in preservation. However, again, in another surprise move, a few months ago, the 89 was repaired and made ready for mainline running again, and it's been sat in primer for the last few months. And literally within the last few weeks, it's been moved to Toten for repainting, and what we expect to see is a re-entry into service in mainline use. As I said, we're genuinely unsure whether there are a number of customers needed to make the 89 in N. So if you're interested, please fill in the expressions of interest form on our website. There's absolutely no obligation. You're not committing to buy. If you're interested, just let us know your name, your email address, what liveries you'd be interested in. And realistically, if we get enough interest, then we'll start the development. It'll take us probably 18 months to develop from when we have enough people interested. So if you're interested, go to our website, let us know you'd like an 89, and obviously the quicker that people let us know and express interest, the quicker we can get underway. Thanks.
Okay, well, thanks very much indeed, Mike, for that assessment. I hope a Class 89 is going to be something that enough people will want to express interest in and we can get it going. You won't be surprised, I'm sure, to learn that we will probably be producing this model with Accurascale. They are, as many have spotted, producing a 00 model with Rails of Sheffield, and in fact it was I think in response to that announcement that made so many people get in touch with us and ask us if we'd be interested in exploring the possibility of the 89 in N. As Mike said, we just don't know, but we'll try our best. Speaking of Accurascale, some news hot off the press, which is, I only received these images last night, but Accurascale have now, or the factory in China that Accurascale are working with, has produced the Cemflos decorated samples. Now I can show you two of them here. This is nearest to camera. We have the blue circle version, which is the original version in the 1960s, and then further away from the camera you have the plain one with the placard removed and just the fixing ribs remaining on the side, and that's the tops version. That's into the 70s and the 80s. These wagons in service from what, 62 to 88, I think. So the decorated samples will be on our way to us, I'm sure, fairly soon, and as soon as we get them, we'll obviously put some photos that we've taken on our website for you to look at, and that means that the order book for those is likely to be closing fairly soon, because those photos have literally just arrived and we haven't actually received the decorated samples yet to assess them and feed back. We haven't set the date the order book will close, but you'll know that traditionally it's not long after the decorated samples are approved, because we want to get on with it, you want to get on with it, and the factory obviously want to get on with it. So moving on, just a couple of other things to talk to you about. Well, that's all the announcements, the new announcements, by the way, but just a couple of things to talk about. There's a big deadline coming up. May the 31st, which we set a couple of months ago, is the deadline for the early bird prices on our KUA nuclear flask double bogie wagon. That's the big nuclear flask wagon used by the MOD to transport submarine fuel from Devonport and from Rosyth in Scotland to Sellafield. It occasionally gets to the far north of Scotland to Georgemas Junction as well. So the early bird deadline for those is in 5 days' time. You can still order them afterwards, but you'll pay significantly more. And of course, if you want to wait until they're available in retailers, if they are available in retailers, then again, the price will be significantly higher because it'll include the retailer margin. Similarly, the deadline for the early bird price on the Ecofret that you've already seen is coming on May the 31st. You'll still get the early bird price on the 00 Ecofrets because the sales of those has lagged slightly behind. The N-Gauge ones have been on sale for a couple of months now. The 00 ones are only just going on sale after this Facebook Live. So there is a little bit of a lag there. And we are expecting decorated samples, by the way, of those Ecofrets fairly soon. The models have, the samples have arrived, but the factory has already had the livery artwork for those, so we're not expecting those to take too long. Just a bit of any other business I've got on my notes here. International deliveries. I had a few emails about this. Well, my local village post office has been opening very intermittently during the COVID-19 period, partly because 2 of their staff have been sick. So that's caused some problems. I'm having to keep an eye on their Facebook page, and if they are open a particular day, I'll zoom in with some things to send to customers. They have advised that they aren't taking post to Australia or to America. So packages for customers in Australia or America, or of HOAs in particular, N-Gauge HOAs that is, are still here, and they will be sent as soon as I'm told it's safe to do so. But at the moment they are still sitting here, so they've not got lost in the post. If you're an Australian or a US customer and you're waiting for HOAs in N-Gauge, the chances are they are still here and haven't been lost in the post, so don't worry. We put a load of stuff up for sale on our website after the last Facebook Live. A lot of it's gone. There's still a few bits left, so if you're still wanting to get a couple of sturgeons or maybe a couple of HOAs, there are still a few available to buy. We're all out, I think, of some of the DB Red versions, but other ones, there's still a few available. Now, Class 92 and IPA shipping dates. The Class 92 we're expecting to ship. We had a note from Rapido just before the bank holiday weekend saying they're expecting to ship in 5 to 6 weeks. The IPAs, the N-Gauge car carriers, we're expecting those to ship in 3 to 4 weeks. Again, we'll update our website when we have an exact date, but it does seem that they are getting very, very close to coming this way now. And lastly, I just want to give you a little reminder about something that I've been sent, which is these rather nice decals by one of our customers. In fact, it's Joe who sent us the photograph of the Tuax JNA box wagon, and these are little obliteration patches for our Cemex liveried HOAs. Now, I did mention these last time, and I thought, having received some, I would show you. I haven't been able to actually put them on the wagons myself yet, because it's been too busy, but they look rather tasty. Very happy with those. And as you can see, there are number sets there for, I think, 10 different, is it 10? 9 different vehicles. So 9 different number sets there. You can also get the set if you want with some graffiti, and the instructions show you exactly where to put the various decals on. So if you want to get those, Joe has a little website and he trades as steadfast models. So why not pick some of those up? Customer supporting us, so we're supporting one of our customers. And that's it. So Q&As. I mean, there's questions. I imagine Mike has been answering questions. I'll have a look and see if there's any I can answer. Pass me a tissue, says Richard Boothby. I can't do that, I'm afraid. 89, yes. Oh, how surprising, Neil Mansell. Sorry to disappoint, Neil. Anything on the 128, Mike Woolner? Well, we showed you the CADs last time. The CADs are still undergoing some tweaking and refining. Once that's done, I think we'll be pretty ready to go straight to tooling. I think orders for that model are very healthy, even though it's a transition model, and we've struggled, as we know, with transition era models in the past. But I'm reasonably sure that's going ahead. Are you waiting to find out what the 89 is going to be painted into at Toten, says Kane? Well, I mean, this is expressions of interest. Let's face it. The expressions of interest will be open for a limited time, probably even open for 3 months. At the end of 3 months, we'll probably assess whether there's demand or not, and by that time I'm sure we'll all know what the 89 has been painted into. I know the rumours are that it's going to go back into its original intercity executive livery, but who knows. But certainly the reason it's being repainted and has been overhauled, as Mike said, seems to be that it's going to get a new lease of life on the main line, so that could be incredibly exciting. And yeah, if it comes out in a brand new livery, then obviously we may assess whether it's worth offering that livery to the present day guys, including myself here. 89N, please, says Jonathan Busson. Well, go and hit the expressions of interest, Jonathan, and hopefully we can get one. Will you be doing a run of the escort coaches to go with the nuclear wagons? No, they're not our product. They're a Farish product. I mean, you can lobby Farish. In the past, lots of independent, sort of small enterprises have tried to get Bachmann to work with them, but they've got a very clear policy. And in fairness to them, I can understand exactly why they do it, of only dealing with companies or firms with a clear retail presence. So they'll do commissions for maybe a large retailer, like Trains for You, my local retailer, or Rails of Sheffield, for example. But if you're working out of a garage, or you're, I suppose they might even regard us as a rival. We're producing models the same as they are. I doubt they'd be very interested in talking to us at all. I think it's much more likely that a range of, a rerun of the escort coaches would come either just because Farish decide to do it, or maybe because a retailer requests it. Ecofret. How will the Ecofret work with the tank tainer, says Tim Hitch? Well, as I explained, the tank tainers are 20-foot containers. I assume, Tim, I know you, so I know you're talking about N-gauge there. We couldn't do the rotating 20-foot spigots as we could do in double O, because N is just too small. So when you get your Ecofrets, it will have holes. It won't have spigots on the wagons. It will have holes, and you can push containers in. As I showed you, they fit exactly. Look, they fit on the deck. You push the spigots into the holes. If you wanted to run them empty, and you want the spigots to be visible because they're painted yellow on the real things, then there will be a bag of little tiny spigots that you can push in place. They are really tiny though, so I don't know how practical that is, but we're offering you the option to do that. And if you want to run two 20-foot containers, well, this is a centre deck. Let me show you in close-up. This is the centre deck, and you can see that there are holes at the outer ends for the 40-foot containers, and there are a pair of holes on the centre spine, and that's where you put the 20-foot containers if you want to run 20-foot containers. Now, it's worth also bearing in mind that on the real things, these are designed primarily for the carriage of 40-foot containers, by far and away the most common now on the railways. So the outer wagons don't have container spigots in the 20-foot position. It's only the centre car on the GBRF blue and the DB red versions that have those 20-foot options. 128. Sorry, I'm quite a bit behind here. So, right. Scott Rail 320. Do you know when you'll be asked if they want to change numbers? We'll sort that out nearer the time, Sam. But yes, you will get the option to change. This is a good question from Dave Forbes. Will expressions of interest on Caroline be complete in time for N modelers to have a chance at the Rail Tour raffle? Yeah, I did think about this. I don't know. If in sort of like the lands of fantasy we get to sort of, so many expressions of interest that we're obviously going ahead before August the 31st and we can get it on sale, then yes, I see no reason why we wouldn't add N-gauge enthusiasts into the big hat of customers that we're going to draw numbers out of. But I think it's very unlikely that we'll be there that quickly. We may be, and if we can, we will. Obviously, the more the merrier. But I'm not sure if we'll be able to do that. Richard Boothby, any thought on track machines, on track plant? Yeah, possibly in the future. It's something we've talked about. No definite plans at the moment, though. Any further liveries planned for Ealnos in 00? Asked Dickie Lawton, or just N? Dickie, at the moment, no. We've done the Ealnos wagons in 00. There are a few still in stock at retailers, I think. And so while that's the case, we won't be announcing any more. Once we know, or we're reasonably confident they are sold out everywhere, then I think at that point we would take a view on offering another run of liveries. But obviously, there's limits to how much we can do. There's only me and Mike, so we have to put our efforts in where we think we will get the most, if you like, bang for the buck. Right, I think that's it. I think we're about half an hour in, I think. Yeah, so half an hour in. I think that we'll call it a day there. I hope you've enjoyed it. Thanks very much indeed for joining us on this, our third live. I think the chances are there'll be another in about 4 weeks. I'm hoping by then we'll have decorated samples of the 321s and 320s to show you. They've just missed this live, unfortunately. Maybe a few other little things to show you. I'm hoping that by then we'll have 00 and N-gauge samples of the big IWA van and timber carriers as well. But hey, whatever we've got, we'll show you and we'll keep you in the loop. We'll keep answering questions. We'll keep engaging. So big thanks to you all for joining us. Thanks to Mike for taking part on the end of his PC. And thanks to Abby here, who has helped support this and is the technical wizard behind it all. So good night and enjoy and stick with us. Thanks a lot. Bye-bye now.